could you introduce yourself and tell us where you're based?
Yeah. Well, I'm Ryan Henderson, and I'm in Orlando, Florida.
I really wanted to speak to you, Ryan. I didn't realize you were a Scotsman. Is that as far as I can tell?
I literally moved to Florida in March, so
Wow.
pretty much just before the proverbial shit hit the fan. Everything started shutting down immediately after we landed. So I think maybe less than a week after we'd landed, um,
Wow. So
everything. Yeah.
who did you kind of emigrate with?
My wife. I met her in Edinburgh, met her in Scotland. So she's from Florida. So yeah, yeah. Married her
That's
over there, and then
awesome.
she's brought me over here.
I'm just gonna put something up on the screen because
That's
I
okay.
just realized there's a big white screen in this shot and it looks terrible.
All right, okay.
So, and your film Squidgely, I was really quite impressed by it, if I'm honest.
Oh, thank you.
I really like the cinematography, especially. Is that something that you do for your work, or is that a hobby? What kind of thing is that?
I mean, to be fair, I've been doing films since like 2003. So for the last kind of 9 or 10 years, I've been making music videos. So back home, that's what I was doing. I was working with local bands, making music videos, and I was shooting, editing, directing, casting, and producing those while I was over there. So yeah, no, I'd say that the filmmaking side of things, and certainly the cinematography and the imagery and things, that's something that's just been part of my life for the longest time.
Yeah, and how did you kind of first get started? Like, was it stuff at college or university or something like that?
I was lucky enough that at high school we had cameras in our media studies department. So immediately after getting a hold of them, I kind of found that because I did a lot of painting, did a lot of sculpture, was very creative anyway. But
Okay.
I loved watching films, loved making films, and to get the opportunity to make my own and to play with light and to color and all that sort of thing. Like that was something that I got to get a hold of when I was like 15 or 16. So I was
That's
very
great.
lucky in that regard.
Yeah, I can attest to that because when I went to college, they had basic cameras before university, and it was okay. It was mini DV, the nightmares with tape.
Yeah,
But and yeah, composition wasn't a great thing. You heavily cropped a 4:3 image. That's what I remember.
yeah, yeah. I mean, to be fair, at that time we didn't have 16:9 TVs then either.
Yeah,
So
that's true,
people
mate.
would
Yeah,
complain if you bought a film on DVD, you're like, what are these black bars at the top and bottom of the image? So, you know, um, yeah, no, I remember. Yeah, again, that's 2003, 2002.
yeah.
When I was using cameras back then. So, yeah, love tape sometimes.
It's yeah. Talking about that, you just reminded me of something that even before like 2000, when I was watching a lot of movies, like I've got vivid watching memories of watching Swiss Family Robinson with my family years and years ago. But at the very end of a lot of these classics, like that one, it would go 16 by 9, or it would be for the credits. You would see the black bars. So
Yeah.
if you watch those early broadcasts of, especially in the UK, of those films, like
Mhm.
why is this look not necessarily look better, but why is this so wide now? And then now,
Yeah.
obviously, the advent of 16 by 9 TVs, it made a huge difference, and DVD made the biggest difference and biggest impact, I think. So
Yeah. Well, you get to see what was on the left and right of the screen the entire time, which was nice. You're getting your 33% back. So
exactly, yeah. Like the X Files was shot in 16 by 9 on film
mhm.
and broadcast on 4:3 because TVs are only 4:3 around mid 90s.
Yeah.
And then when it was like leaked or shown on German on-demand TV, the 16 by 9 HD versions, and they just appeared in a really random way. And obviously not in the US first, in Germany first. And I
Mhm.
was because I'm a huge horror and X Files fan, and when I saw images of a 16 by 9 X Files, I was like, "What is this? This looks amazing." It looked like newly scanned. It looked new, like
Yeah.
when Star Wars got re-released for the millionth time in
Yeah.
'97, but when you got the DVD release of that, the new prints were stellar in terms of it just felt super fresh again. And when I saw
Yeah.
the X-Files had leaked onto 16:9, I was like, was it always this way? And then I was curious about shows like The Wire, which was obviously in a widescreen environment, but it was purposely shot in 4:3 because it gave it more of the NYPD Blue feel. So it's
Yeah.
really interesting, the use of it. And we've obviously, when I started off, and probably yourself as well, you shoot in 4:3 and you crop because it looks better.
Yeah, well, you were like, this looks more like the films I'm used to seeing in the cinema and stuff. But like, I mean, again, like I'm 34 years old now. I remember watching like Demolition Man and GoldenEye and stuff on like ITV. And now I've seen them now. I'm like, there's all that stuff in here that I don't remember seeing, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
More of the three
it's like two,
seashells. Was the three seashells?
yeah,
Was that Judge Dredd or was that Demolition Man?
that's Demolition
That was
Man.
Demolition
I,
Man.
yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in that movie. Certainly the new cuts anyway. It's like
Yeah.
Taco Bell's been replaced with Pizza Hut, or it was Pizza Hut when I remember it.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah,
Okay.
it's very strange.
If you're curious about how filmmakers feel about pan and scanning, there's a Sidney Pollack has got a mini documentary on. He's passed away since, but he shot a film, quite an interesting film thriller with Nicole Kidman and Sean Penn called The Interpreter. About it's very Hitchcock in terms of someone hears something they shouldn't on a translation in the UN, and there's a documentary that he talks about panning and scanning, where the TV companies choose the reframing for 4:3 for 16 films. So he goes on this huge rant about the composition changes completely, and someone at a TV broadcast company makes those decisions. So you can imagine someone that shot something and then someone else is kind of reframing it for TV. It must be horrific to see that.
Yeah, no, I can probably understand that frustration a fair bit.
Yeah,
At least now, yeah,
absolutely.
there's no issues with it now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I've got to congratulate you on your the cinematography. I really loved it, and there's little moments that reminded me of, I think it was a shot of the character's hand, and then the blinds. It was kind of very Exorcist for me. You know,
All right,
there's a
okay.
couple of marketing posters. I think it's posters or shots where there's like a beam of light and you just see the hand. So yeah, it was kind of cool, man. Like you could see there's a lot of maturity in your cinematography as well, which is really pretty cool.
No, thank you for that. Yeah, no, like I say, it's been yeah, because I studied as well. It's been a hard, long slog. Yeah, filmmaking's not really it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Oh,
So,
absolutely, yeah. Especially when you want to up your game each time,
oh yeah,
because you want to improve things. You see little techniques you want to adapt, or you see some of the greats what they do, their technique, and you try and work out, oh, can I bring that into my methodology? Can I bring that into my A game?
yeah.
And yeah, it was. I think Squidgy's a lot of fun, man. It's a little bit confusing towards the end, but it's good. I think it's good. It's good fun. I mean, to be honest, it 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 was really different and tonally totally my jam. I loved it. Are you kind of a
Okay.
big kind of thriller horror fan?
Yeah, I mean, I like my old school horror. Do find myself watching a lot more. I mean, I also like watching Tat. So there's been a lot of new kind of horror films that have been out, which I certainly find myself while I'm writing or something having them on in the background. But yeah, no, I prefer like my old school horror, my Hammer horror, your kind of classic Universal monster horror.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, Hellraiser is probably one of my favorite horror films ever. You brought out The Exorcist. Only watched that again recently with my wife because a huge fan of like William Friedkin. I hadn't seen it in a long, long time.
He's
That film's
amazing.
phenomenal. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
William Friedkin.
I met Paul Schrader once in Berlin, and he directed Dominion, the prequel. It's been like it's a bit of a mess of a film, and he wrote. I think
Yeah.
he wrote and directed that. And he was
Mm-hmm.
talking about William Friedkin, and and when you see him being interviewed, he's such a dude as well.
Yeah.
About he was talking to the director of Neon Demon, and in terms of
Oh,
about being pretentious and that kind of thing with your content. And he was really, really having a go at him, saying, you can't just put beautiful images on the screen. It has to be cohesive. There has to be a great story. And he seems like his content online, even his new, relatively new stuff. He's, shooting on Sony A7S2s or whatever they were. So he's great, man. And, with like French Connection and that as well. It's, great body of work. Great body of work.
French Connection is one of my favorites. Love that. To say, you'd seen Bug? You ever seen Bug?
No.
There's a play called Bug. He did a version of Bug with Michael Shannon and can't remember. But anyway, it's about like paranoia and schizophrenia and conspiracy theories and things. So basically, two people lock themselves up in their house, worried about germs and bugs and people trying to infiltrate their space and stuff. When technically, it's all just in their head. Very, very, very interesting film.
That's
so that again.
Like if you watch that now, with regards to what's going around the world, that's quite an interesting premise, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, certainly the world's a very interesting place at the moment. So.
So speaking of Hellraiser, I was talking to another filmmaker a couple of days ago, and I've still got them because I use my PlayStation as my Blu-ray player, and I've still got it in the player because I ended up having a pizza coma the other day. So, and based on that, I didn't watch it because I was like a potato. I just I couldn't consume anything in my eyeballs. I've seen it a dozen times, and I love Hellraiser. And I love especially the scene in the hospital where she's in the bed, and then all that, the craziness. I think it's the gateway opens up, isn't it?
Yeah, she opens up the puzzle box, and then they all turn up.
Yeah, the Cenobites are great, man. It's so hard to do that right now with a sequel or a remake. I've heard the rumors that HBO are doing a series, which would be incredibly difficult and dark. And if HBO do it right, I've not seen any of their Watchmen, but their content's really strong all the time.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think my friends had seen it. I quite like Watchmen. I even rate the Zack Snyder movie. I think that film's pretty good. Does some things better than the book. But according to him, it's good. Maybe a little bit of filler, he said, but he said it's fairly good all the way through. So,
that's
great.
great.
Worth watching.
So, what gave you your kind of idea, and how long? Can you talk about your production a little bit and how long it took to shoot? The kind of camera. The reason I want to know about your camera gear as well is because we've got such a wide-ranging group of filmmakers that have been on the podcast before yourself and after. That we've got people that are shooting with high-end cameras to iPhones and iPads. So there's a couple with iPads, and what I see with a bit of freedom with that is it's really nice to handhold something like that, even though it looks ridiculous when you film with it, especially outside in public. You look like a right plonker, So, if you can talk about your little production and how you kind of came up with the idea.
I came up with the idea. Literally one morning, I woke up and I thought there was a spider on the wall. But literally, it was my eye. I must have had something in my eye, and it was squiggling about and moving. I touched the wall. I turned to my wife, and I'm like, "There's a spider on the wall. There's a spider on the wall." I don't really like spiders, but to be fair, I saw this thing, and I was like,
"You've gone to the right country for that, then."
Yeah, it's lovely. It's great. But I mean, that was the general inspiration for what it was. So what you see in the film is effectively what I felt like I'd seen that morning. So pretty much, I think after I heard about the festival and I heard that you guys were taking submissions, the minute I arrived here and everything had shut down, I was doing very little other than making things in the house anyway. So I'd already made a couple of other little short films as well. So I felt like this was a decent chance and an excuse to just go and make something else and submit it somewhere. So really the script took a couple hours to write, and then effectively I just got my wife to come in and play the role as the girl in the story, and then we shot it over one long evening, probably about 6 or 7 hours, and had it pretty much in the can a couple of days later and then sent it off to you guys. I mean, in terms of the kit, a lot of the kit that I had when I was in Scotland, I had to sell. I couldn't obviously bring it over here, but I still have a Canon 60D that I bought back in 2012.
Yeah.
So I've been using that Canon 60D, which has shot pretty much like 50 or 60 odd projects kind of since I've
it's a lovely camera. I used to have a 60D. That flip out screen is such an advantage.
It's very helpful. This was at the time like the advent of DSLRs was coming into play as well. I think I was working at STV at the time when the 5D was getting used in TV and things, and people were starting to really kind of figure that it was, the camera had more to it than just what it looked like. So people were shooting on 5Ds then, and then obviously because cameras are becoming more affordable and you could get this high quality video image out of them, I picked up a 60D and I immediately just started solo shooting a whole bunch of stuff since then. But that 60D has done me proud from the moment I got it up until now. But yeah, no, bought a bunch of kit, got myself a new tripod, got myself a slider and things, because that's effectively all I've kind of needed in order to get the shots that I've been looking for. And then all the rest of it is just, it's just using your light and where you place the camera. And
I think your film, the fact that you shot it on a 60D, and I know exactly what you get out of a 60D, because some things can look really mushy. And when you step up your camera game or look at other cameras, you can see the difference. But obviously the Canon colors initially are out the camera are pretty decent. And fair play to you for shooting what you did with a 60D. You got the best out of it because the whole thing in the US about T2I or the Rebel and all of that, it's lost on me in terms of being a UK resident. So we had a chap called Declan Roberts, and he shot a film called I Have to Go. He's a TV presenter and actor based in Toronto, and his partner was in it. And it was about we're going to be showcasing the films after next Saturday anyway. So everyone's going to be able to see what's been submitted. And when I saw the film, I was going, wow, this looks like it's shot on a red or something. There was something really kind of nice, not necessarily a red, but something really nice about the image. And he hadn't ever shot anything before. And I said, "What? Did you have like diffused windows or something?" Oh yeah, we've got a couple of areas where we sit, and they're like toilet windows, so you've got that diffused light. So he used that. He saw where the best light was in the room, like you say, using the light to your advantage. And the stuff looks great. The shots look fantastic. And he was using, it was probably the equivalent to a 70D or something like that. And I was really quite impressed. And he did a small amount of work on the post. Is that something you kind of did some work on the post, like a kind of color, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I shoot it as close to how I want it to look. So certainly I've already decided what the colors are going to be well before we begin shooting it. So really it was just a case, because this is how I learned it at university, is you shoot it exactly the way you want it to be, and the most you should probably do in post is like crush the blacks. Yeah. So you're making it a little bit darker and you're taking away some of the whites, because again, with the 60D and with any DSLRs, you end up with these kind of high exposure areas. It does not deal with whites very well whatsoever. And if it's too dark, like you say, it looks incredibly noisy and mushy. So yeah, for the most part, like I say, because that's just how I was taught, and that's just how I've taught myself, is that I make it as close to the final image while I'm shooting, as opposed to trying to fix it in post, so to speak.
Trying to fix it in post with a camera that's not shooting raw. That's an adventure that people you get lost down the river on that.
Well, I had I had a conversation with someone who was shooting on a Sony A7 II, I think, one of the Alpha range cameras, and he's shooting in 4K. And he looked at some of my stuff and he's like, "How did you get it to look so like straight?" It's like, "Well, it's like I shoot on 1080p, don't shoot in 4K." So really, he's like, "Well, I usually shoots in 4K, so it gives him that option. If something looks off balanced, you can zoom it in a little bit and tilt it and turn it so it does look straight." And I've kind of been like, well, if you shoot on film, you don't really have that option either. Because I've shot on Super 16 before. You have to get it right on the day, otherwise there's no way it's ever going to be correct. So so I guess with that kind of fine amount of limitation I seem to have gave myself kind of over the years by sticking with the 60D, which is a nice camera. It's just all about good practice and just what you do on the day of shooting, which I kind of feel like is kind of one of the main principles of filmmaking in general. People have been doing it for over 100 years, and those are the sort of things that no one should really need to change. So
absolutely. I'm just going to check on something that to do with your film. I'm just going to put on this screen so you can't see it. Sorry to be a pain.
Okay. That's all right.
Just want to make sure. Move that off there. How have you adapted to the weather? Like, have you spent much time in Florida?
Like I say, it's been only since March. In terms of someone I'm not particularly well traveled. So to be fair, this is the furthest I've ever been away from Scotland. So I've adapted to the weather relatively well. Like you say, I think you said earlier, it's like, it's quite warm. It's quite warm in the UK, but I think at nighttime here it's like at least 27 degrees.
Yeah, I went to Florida in '97, many moons ago, and my God, I've got Scottish blood in me. My parents, my mum's Scottish, grandparents are, and that kind of that you feel it in your kind of Nordic DNA. That's how I say it, because obviously a lot of people in Scotland would be Nordic by heritage, and Northwest will be the same as well. So I really feel it. If I'm outside for more than an hour, I'm done. I am cooked. I'm like a lobster. So it's, normally I'm the one wearing the Hawaiian shirt. I love summer, but when I step outside, it's horrible reacting to the sun that way. It's like half an hour in it, then you're uncomfortable. It's just great heat stroke. There we go. But I love Florida, man. So
I mean, I measure
you'll
up.
adapt. You'll adapt, definitely.
It's been like I say, it's been fine. No one's daft over here either. If it's well into the 30s, people are not inclined to go outside for any prolonged length of time because it's crazy. But we had like a tornado here just the other week as well. I had a tornado come like ripping down the street we were on.
Wow.
So there's a lot of storms, hurricanes here and stuff as well. So
it's everything's so much bigger, and it's gonna be because you've been in isolation. Are you kind of still quite isolated? You spend most of your time at home, or?
We've only just started, say, going to a bar or going to a restaurant or something. But even then, I'm still very kind of touchy about like what we do in general. I mean, again, I'm still looking for a job and things. So this whole kind of period has been quite an upheaval. But I mean, it depends on kind of
real adventure, man, isn't it? Real adventure for you now.
It could not have been any more crazy. I mean, to be fair, it couldn't have been any more wild, me choosing this exact time in my life in order to begin this journey. So.
I'm glad you talked about that, because what we're trying to one of the reasons we wanted to speak to the filmmakers, see how people are getting on, because we're trying to build a little bit of a community and something positive to focus on, which is nice for a lot of people. And we've spoken to an 11-year-old filmmaker from Nalia from Toronto, and a sister was on the podcast with her, and she was talking about the hotel she works at is now a hotel for homeless people with COVID that have confirmed they've got it. So it's how lives have been changing, and you've kind of like thrown yourself into it's kind of you expect a certain things, because obviously moving to another country, it's not easy, and it's such a big upheaval and a serious change, and to do something so big, and because it is a huge thing in your life to move, like moving a house is a big enough pain in your own country. usually within a couple of hundred miles of your own where you grew up. But to move another country whilst this is going on, it's so when did you say a couple of weeks or was it a couple of months you moved there?
Oh, it was March 9th I moved here. So I was on a plane on March 9th.
Wow.
I think 2 weeks after that, all international travel was cancelled. So pretty much if we didn't leave then, we would have been in a much worse state, I would have said, in Scotland, purely because of work situations. My wife also had a job over in Florida, which paid a lot more than my shop job did in Scotland. So we would have been, monumentally screwed. So to be fair, this is as much as I'm like, holy shit, this situation is close enough to being a disaster for everyone involved. My situation could have been a whole lot worse.
I'm very thankful because I work for a university. I do a lot of video production, but now we're doing kind of tech support. We're doing remote recording for lecturers, students, that kind of thing. And we've had a mortgage for a year. Vicky and I, she works for the NHS, and I can't imagine what life would be like if you are, like you've only just left university or something and you've moved in somewhere and you don't have a support network. It must be intense, seriously intense for people. And it sounds like a really positive move for you, which is great, man.
Yeah, I think the opportunities, I feel like I wouldn't say I did everything that I could have done in Scotland, but it was very much worth the opportunity to move to the US to just see how things worked out for me here. To be fair, my drive, the motivation to make things, because I was always making stuff, I was always doing that anyway. That's not changed. It's just about trying to focus that energy and that creativity to give myself the best opportunity over here. So
you've got some of the, obviously, our content creator, Nadia Gladys, she's based in North Carolina, and she moved from Boston. She drove from Boston to North Carolina. And I said, oh, how was your drive? And because you'll get used to this over the next few years, the scale of the US. She said, oh yeah, it was like 22-hour drive. So you can go across Europe in that, it's really, we just fit in the pocket of the United States in terms of scale, in terms of physical scale. But the benefits of that is that now if you go out and film stuff for yourself, these locations are incredible. The light's incredible.
Yeah.
So, Roger Deakins doesn't necessarily like a clear day. He prefers overcast.
Overcast days are better, they are.
But, there's so much potential, man. Florida's fantastic for it as well.
Yeah. Oh, it's nice. Like, it's the polar opposite of what I'm used to. But so far, it's been...
weather-wise, my God, especially Scotland. Scotland and northwest of England, Wales, it's pretty grim a lot of the time. But location-wise, and I'm sure you're going to have an absolutely wonderful time there.
So, Other than these small hiccups, I'm sure everything will pick up eventually, and everything will normalize, and
definitely,
things will get back to normal. So.
Well, it has to. It has to. James Cameron and John Landau, they just flew over to New Zealand now, and they're in quarantine for 2 weeks before they can start production up again of the 4 Avatar sequels. So it's thing. Yeah, I know. Isn't it crazy? There's 4 sequels that are going to happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, if anyone's going to do it, James Cameron, the man who seems to find himself doing impossible feats, he's now doing something that's seemingly impossible. So
exactly, yeah. So, are you going to enter Squidgy and other festivals?
Potentially, yeah. Squiggly is one of 2 films I've made since I've landed here. Another one was a 30-second film about my wife buttering a bagel, and it has this Escher-esque style infinite loop to it. That went to a contest, which I've yet to hear back from, but that only kind of really closed. So to be fair, I've got Squiggly and I've got that film, and I've also got something else I've written to do within the house. And then, yeah, I mean, to be fair, yeah, I'll just start pumping them about and see what happens. I've been quite busy with a short film I made just last year, like end of last year, called Gargantua, which was a bit more of a larger feat, but that had further legs coming, the situation with COVID and stuff, because it was about self-isolation and about an impending disaster that was happening out of the house. And it was strangely, I wouldn't say coincidental, but it was ominous how close that film was to this now very current and very real situation. So that's been picked up to a few other things, just purely because of the fact that I had an idea at the time. But it's unfortunate that we were now found ourselves in a situation where we're stuck at home, and there's the horrible thing kind of going on in the world. So
it's there's some the negative energy and things that are happening, especially in a larger way in stateside. It's crazy, man. It really is crazy times. And what you're saying in terms of almost serendipity, when you produce something and like almost the same thing happens, like it's like you're having a really odd bout of deja vu. There's I think there's a film called Right at Your Door. Have you seen it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, about a guy that stays in his house and seals it up because outside you can get infected with some sort of disease. And then the interesting thing about that film, I'm glad you've seen it, is that because of what he's done to the house and sealed himself away, his wife's at the door knocking on the door, and she's getting ill. But he's basically created a hotbed for the disease in his house. So he's created an intense version of it in his own house. So he's kind of exacerbated the issue. And I can't imagine wanting to watch that now. Or like Steven Soderbergh's Contagion. Just imagine the vibe. Because, if you're, and it's tricky, man. If you want to, I think it could be, I think when you if you wanted to showcase that idea, you've almost got to create a context of it. Oh, this is an idea I was shooting on a certain date. You're almost going to not justify it, but the reasoning behind the film now, it takes on a different form, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it was unfortunate, but like you say, it was serendipitous.
Yeah.
But I think because of the situation and because of the way history itself tends to work, and certainly within the way the film industry works, and that we've had like 70s new wave movement, which is very much kind of predicated upon like the Vietnam War and the political situation of the time. I found myself getting into an argument with someone online, which was a kind of waste of time.
Well, does it?
Nothing ever comes of it. And certainly I presented the argument that there's no way that you can ignore, as a creative and with telling stories during this time, that you can ignore the social, the social realistic, state of the situation, how it affects people, humanity, political situations, how we're just affected by society, because everything has totally changed. So it will change the way we write stories. There is no way that we can take ourselves away from the influence of that. And I felt like to ignore it would be doing that whole situation a total injustice. If we talk about the people on the front line having to deal with it day after day, the amount of fear that we've seen in the media, the amount of media that we're being exposed to, what do we believe, what do we not believe, where was this taken, what's this image doing? Like, we are inundated and flooded full of information on a daily basis. And this situation, I felt, was like, well, there's no way that you can write stories now and not feel influenced, or at least not address it.
What was their argument?
It was something about like Hollywood isn't interested in like pandemic stories now because they'd rather produce things like Top Gun 2.
Well, yeah, the fact that, that's already, that's probably all mostly shot or done anyway. It's probably heavily in post. So it's like you can't. That's a suggestion that past that point, I wouldn't even be surprised if when they release that Mission Impossible film or the next two, because there's two back to back, that the
Yeah.
last one is influenced because Christopher McQuarrie, the director and fantastic screenwriter
Yeah.
he is smart enough where you're not justifying your film, but you can't ignore it. Trying to say Hollywood's going to just is not interested. Yeah, it might not be interested in on the nose stories like Contagion or something like that, or about the actual.
Yeah.
It's going to be influenced everyone. It's influenced how people live. It's how people act in society. This has got to be the biggest thing in 40 years to influence people's minds. Is like my mindset when I started working at home, I was in a really awful place. I really hated the idea of it because I used to, like most people at work, being surrounded by so many other people, and you have those micro conversations about jobs and about technique or whatever, about editing photos, editing video. But when that's all stripped back and you're working at home, it's like you've been retired. Like when my dad retired from working for Vauxhalls for 30 years, he became exceptionally ill, and it took him like 5 or 6 years from him being ill to, waking up almost. So being taken out of your work routine, it's the routine, that's kind of put me in that mindset. But since starting this festival, it gave me real focus. And to say that people aren't gonna, you have to reference it. I wouldn't be surprised if Cameron writes that into the Avatar films as well in some way, even if it's some sort of maybe a subconscious or something like that. He's so clued up, and like, you have to acknowledge it, even in a far-flung science fiction film.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Like, I want to be taken away completely. I want to watch Top Gun. I want to watch the Avatar sequels because I like ridiculous films as well. And I think you're going to see some monumental pieces of work, and like, I think you're going to see some absolutely, because look at some of the best filmmakers came out of strife. Like, was it Billy Wilder that made a lot of Second World War videos for the US government? And when he came out of that, exceptional filmmaker.
Yeah.
You're going to see.
Yeah, I think Billy Wilder, his history was that he was in the middle of Europe, and he was part of quite a large group of people who escaped Europe during the Second World War. So he had a lot of reverence for the Americans, and certainly for moving on to work in Hollywood. I can't remember his whoever made The Best Years of Our Lives. It was, can't remember. Same with Kurosawa. Kurosawa did that. He made propaganda videos.
Yeah, exactly.
Before
like my favorite Kurosawa is Throne of Blood. I love it. My God, I love it.
Yeah. If anyone wants to learn anything about filmmaking, you could just watch his catalog, because that guy blocks a scene like no one else. So.
Is it Throne of Blood where the trees are moving towards the fort?
Yes, that's the scene that has the arrows. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
That was I remember reading something about Toshiro Mifune. Kurosawa was like, right, we've got this choreographed thing, and he got these world-class archers to fire real arrows at him while he's trying to. So they had to choreograph this whole thing. So when an arrow goes into the wood, it's a real arrow going into the wood. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's incredible. I did not know that. That was a superbly, like Scorsese and De Niro, the kind of pairing of a filmmaker and a genius filmmaker and a fantastic actor. And it's you. There's definitely going to be a new wave of the message, or filmmakers wanting to imprint their message based on their influence of what's happening now. So this could be, there'll be a lot of positives. Obviously, there's a lot of negatives now as well, but there's going to be a hell of a lot of positives coming out of this in terms of creativity. I think you'll see a new wave of fantastic filmmakers, because that always happens anyway. It's like a bit of a cycle. So I think that based on this now, it's
I kind of
It'll
felt like there
definitely bear
was a,
fruit.
yeah, I mean, I kind of felt like we were in the middle of a wave of filmmakers, because certainly since the recession, because I remember leaving university and then the house and market, everything totally crashed, everything was out, and then it was, yeah, job hunting was nightmarish.
Yeah.
Certainly within the last, say, 4 years, with a very much rise in more right-sided politics on both sides of the pond.
Yep.
I've always kind of felt like, yeah, there was not only just a need, but there was going to be this gradual new wave of creative content finding its way into people. Just not only just to kind of show what's happening, but just as an opposition force to these
Absolutely.
ideals. You know?
Yeah, so it's a crazy time, but I definitely see green shoots of positivity. So I think that argument's completely nonsense about trying to say they're not going to be influenced.
Well, to be fair, I came out of the argument going, "Oh no, I just feel like I've wasted my time," and I looked at the clock. And I could have just been in bed. So,
yeah, absolutely. So what was it like? Was it? I'm going to ask you. Obviously, it's your wife in the film, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
So, what was it like working with her? Is it something you've done before, the shooting of a film with her?
Well, Laura, my wife, she had some acting experience before. She'd been in some theatre plays and things when she was younger. This was something she was pursuing when she was younger. It was just something that never really kind of came about. So she did a bunch of musicals, she can sing, and she understood the principles of acting. She'd been in a couple of things kind of over the years. I'd had her in a small role in my last film, Gargantua, and purely, not to say anything, but just purely out of necessity, we were like, let's just make some stuff because we're in the house. I've got no contact with anybody else, no contact with actors. We can't have contact with anyone. So we literally just kind of have ourselves. So I think I've been very lucky in the respect that Laura has had some acting background, and we've just been able to just make some stuff. And she can actually be quite funny. Her sense of humor is she's quite good. She's quite good at that thing. So if we
in line with a Scottish sense of humor, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, she loves Scotland, and certainly, the doer kind of Scott's sense of humor is legendary, I would say.
I'd agree with that, man. Yeah, my grandmother, she couldn't. She's from Greenock, and couldn't be more that way. And my attitude towards certain things, there's like facets of Welsh, English, and Scottish, and it's almost like a superpower in some ways. And it's I'm very proud of being British, and like I'm not a huge follower of any individual country team, but I feel very proud to have father's English and then relatives that are Welsh. So it's it's great, man. And the Scottish sense of humor is fantastic. So I'm really chuffed, Ryan, that you entered your film, mate. It's gone down really well with our team. So we've got myself, Chris, and Nadia, and it was for cinematography. It is right up there. It's in our. Am I going to tell you a little secret? I'm not going to tell you. There's certain awards we've kind of awarded, and you're in the top 6 in terms of cinematography. That's what I can tell you for your film. That's so amazing. The reason I told you that is because I've just decided now that we can't show every film on next Saturday. It's this Saturday. Geez, 4 days away. There's like a mega amount of editing we need to do, but I think I'm happy to tell the filmmakers in every award that they've been nominated for, that. So Vance Burberry, the amazing video cinematographer from based in LA from Australia. So he's been sent your film and 5 others to kind of to have a look at. So it's very cool, man. And I'm quite happy to tell you that because I really enjoyed the cinematography of your film. I think it was really strong, especially the shot under the bed with the slider. I love that. The use of
Oh,
that is great. It's so simple, but it's so clever as well. And it's
yeah,
always
no,
one of those things that, you know, if there's if like a child in like a scary film, there's a clown or something, under
yeah,
the bed is so scary for a child.
yeah.
So yeah,
I mean,
it
yeah,
was great, man.
the film itself plays on a bunch of like those cliches as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of the main kind of crux of some of those shots. There's the shot where she puts her finger on the wall. That was
Love
another
that.
one. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
nice
probably
and
one.
shallow as well. Nice and shallow, that shot.
Yeah, no, it's one of the favorite shots I've taken in the last kind of couple of months. Like I really enjoyed doing that one. So I think the gap between where she is in the bed and where the wall is inhumanly large for anyone's normal arm. Yeah, so it was
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, I was like, need you out of the bed and that sort of thing. But yeah, she does that. Arm goes a hell of a distance, which it probably shouldn't. So,
Well, that's like one of those, you know, when you put a camera behind a couch and then you have the reverse shot and the couch is against
yeah,
the wall, so there's no chance for the camera. It's one of those little cheats that people watching will just accept. The brain will just accept it.
it wouldn't make it makes sense to the viewer that sort of way. Well, that whole arm shot reminded me of that bit in Bram Stoker's Dracula where
Oh, I
the
love that.
cartsman welcomes him into the cart and his arms like inhumanly long.
Yeah, and the shadows in the castle, the
Yeah,
cast shadows. I love that film. I even love Keanu Reeves in that. I know it's ridiculous to
yeah,
say that, but he's so Keanu in that. It's ridiculous. Like
yeah,
my favorite scene in that movie is in the carriage when you see Dracula's eyes in the sky. I love it.
yeah,
I'm so it just I just love that film. I bought it on Blu-ray and it's absolutely gorgeous. I think it was a director's cut and it has the stuff with Vlad the Impaler, Gary Oldman with the army, and he's in the church. And maybe that's in the regular cut, but yeah,
I think that's the theatrical cut because that's the very opening of the movie.
yeah,
That's like
it
my
is, isn't it?
favorite. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably my favorite part of that entire film is that
Oh,
opening.
it's great.
Very open.
Yeah, it's a wonderful film, and it feels very I don't know, it feels very rich, and it feels like theater to a certain degree, you know, with the actors and everything.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, it is Francis Ford Coppola, so it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And yeah, it's yeah, horror is something that we've had a few submissions of, and I'm eager at some point, maybe next year, because we're going to do this again next year, and is not make it horror based, because that's if I had the choice, it would be just all horror. But no, maybe like a side project, like a horror fest next October. I'd love to do that. You know, when
Yeah,
people are more comfortable to enjoy things, and because I almost feel guilty sometimes, or when this isolation started, um, I found it difficult just to settle down and watch something because
yeah,
you know your mind's so occupied with everything that's going on outside the window. It was very difficult. It took me, I'd say, at least a month and a half, something like that, to feel as though I could enjoy even just a basic amount of spare time.
yeah. Well, that's when you're spending all of your time in the one space where you spend all of your home time, your spare time. It's kind of like how do you make the distinction
Yeah.
between what's relaxing and what's work? So
Oh no,
yeah,
there's that line is blurred now completely in this room because I spent so much time, and God bless my missus. She's like, are you speaking to someone today? Yeah, I've got a couple of podcasts booked, and after Saturday, I'm gonna end up, you know, it's like when you work on a big production or something, you're really busy, and then you have some time off, you become really ill.
yeah,
You power down. I think after Saturday, I'm gonna power down.
yeah,
I think I'll be running on 20%. That's exactly what's going to be happening to me. So
yeah,
yeah, no matter what happens on, because Vance is still to make his decision. You'll get the laurels as well, because I'm not sure if you've got any artwork for the film.
yeah.
But you'll get a official selection laurel, and you'll get a nominee laurel as well. So you'll get like two kind of special ones, which is pretty cool. And
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah,
yeah, and because it's been really nice to see. We've had people that are 9, 10 years old
Yeah.
create stop animation, because that seems to be a really popular thing for kids on iPads and iPhones and that. And but we've seen super high end horror films. We've had comedy from Tel Aviv, which I was really happy about when we received that. And
Yeah.
it just for our festival, this is just small thing, but oh yeah, we've got a couple of foreign films with subtitles. It just kind of give it more legitimacy. You know what I mean? So we actually worked with a French filmmaker, and I said submit it because the film was super strong. He submitted
Yeah.
it. It was super strong, even without subtitles. I said
Oh,
to him, the
wow.
film's
Okay.
great, but I would suggest sending it, working on the subtitles. So he sent them over, and I said, I can't verify your subtitles because I don't speak any French at all. So
Yeah.
Nadia, who's a friend of mine, who's the content curator now, she speaks French, but not fluently. So she said his subtitles seem pretty spot on, but I wouldn't like to judge them because my French is completely different. And even if I spoke to him, we wouldn't necessarily have a really easy conversation because
Right. Okay.
she's Haitian, you see. So it's
Right. Okay.
yeah, it's been an interesting process, man. And
Mhm.
we're receiving films at 2 a.m. Go, oh, what's this now? Like you're just about to go to sleep,
Yeah.
and you're kind of blown away by something. I've woken my missus up when I've seen something I really like. And check this out. Check this animation out about geese. There's an animation about geese that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Because I think the standards, like from students, from filmmakers like yourself, it's extremely high. And
Yeah.
we only started this, was it almost 12 weeks ago, something like that. And we've got three very good judges for Advance Burberry, and now directors duo, which we announced yesterday.
Yeah.
That was very exciting, man, getting those guys on board, because you can see from their content, their stuff's visually super appealing.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much, Ryan, for submitting your
Thank you.
film, and congratulations on the nomination for best
Thank you.
cinematography. And
Yeah.
please keep in touch as well. We'll send those laurels out after Saturday, and
Yeah.
then we're going to release these podcasts. I think we'll do at least 2 a week, because we've shot, I think you're the 31st podcast now. We've only released 11. So we don't want you to wait another 20 weeks. It wouldn't be fair. So we're going to release them in a more generous way after Saturday's event. But yeah, wish us luck on the on the live stream on Saturday.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be fair, you guys have created something and you brought a whole bunch of people together and you basically gave them a platform to make things and stuff. So yeah, you should take a lot of the compliments as they come.
No,
You've done
absolutely. Yeah.
incredibly well. Hopefully Saturday goes well for you.
No, I appreciate that, mate, and I wish you luck as well.
No, thank you.
So we're gonna show every film in one way or another during the event, and it's going to be around between an hour and a half and 2 hours.
Okay.
So it's not going to be like the Isolation Short Film Festival in Canada. There was just for Canadian filmmakers, which was 5.5 hours. We're not going to do that because that just kills anyone's day. It's like trying to watch The Irishman. You've got to plan out your whole day around that one movie.
Yeah.
So I still haven't watched it because it's it's a commitment of time, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we had to schedule a time from say 5 o'clock, and any later than 5 o'clock, we weren't going to be watching it. So we did sit through almost 3.5 hours of it. So yeah, it's all right.
That's so funny. Yeah, it's all right. I just spent the afternoon watching it. Yeah, it's so funny, man.
No, it's 2 in the morning, right? Okay.
Yeah, there's some movies though that I can just watch again and again and again. And one last little question is, what are you kind of watching at the moment?
Like I said, I've been watching a bunch of try. We got because of our like our internet service, we got HBO Max for free over here.
Oh, awesome!
So we've been watching, so they've got like all the old Godzillas on there. We watched the Maltese Falcon not too long ago, and that's one of my favorites.
Oh, mate, you've got excellent tastes. You and I align so well.
but yeah, I think we watched Peter Yates' film last night with Sigourney Weaver called Eyewitness.
Oh
It's got
wow.
William Hurt in it. Yeah, that movie's okay. He also made Bullet as well, Peter Yates. So
Oh
that's
right,
probably
yeah.
that's one of his most notable things. But yeah, no, I mean I've got a bunch of films I need to still watch. Society I haven't watched. All that
Yeah.
the Brian Yuzna, like that stuff. I've also got the original version of Harakiri that I wanted to watch before I saw the Takeshi Miike remake.
Yeah.
So yeah, my viewing, my watching patterns are quite diverse and far-reaching and ranging.
Yeah.
So
I'm
yeah,
after I've finished speaking to you, Ryan, and speaking to Nadia and Chris, because we've got a meeting later on about
Mhm.
the technical difficulties and all of that. I'm going to end up watching a highlights thing about the history of Big Brother.
Okay.
Like I used to really enjoy. I know it's terrible now, but I used to really enjoy the first season because it was so different.
Mm,
And now
yeah.
it's just a monster. Now it's this bloated thing that's horrible. And
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in decompressing, watching a terrible show, or what you might deem as
Mm,
a terrible show, but you actually enjoy it. So like
yeah.
I've just been watching Love Is Blind on Netflix,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
it's a
I think I've heard of that and haven't watched any of it.
yeah. So it's not great. It's not great, but it's not overly edited like a lot of American
Yeah.
reality shows. It's not. It's actually there's a bit more time involved, and yeah, I really dug it, but it's really not great. So yeah, HBO Max is great, man. And when you get to watch the Schneider cut, a friend of mine is in Justice League, and
Oh,
she's got 4 lines of dialogue in the film, or 4 or 5, and she's. Have you seen the film already, Justice League?
I've not seen Justice League, so I've not been super impressed by the
DC
DC side. I
content,
think the
yeah,
last one I saw was Batman versus Superman, and that the only thing I really liked about that movie is what they did with Batman. So I
yeah.
thought Batfleck is we pretty good. I think he was pretty good.
So yeah, you'll get to see more scenes with my friend because I actually messaged her, and she said
Hmm.
she was being a bit vague because with their NDAs, that kind of thing.
Mm,
She because Whedon took over and all of that. It's she says she's going to be in it more and get paid more. I was like, that's amazing
oof, yeah,
because
that's all
the
right.
royalties and that. And she was. I'll tell you a little thing. So she get her and her family. She's a Russian mother, and she
Mm,
gets rescued by the Flash. There's a scene where the Flash rescues them, and he's
okay.
pushing their car, and she's gonna. I've not spoken to her in a while, and we message kind of once a month, something like that. And she was telling me, "Oh yeah, I can tell you as much as you want about working with Zack Schneider and Josh Whedon." I was like, "That's incredible to have been
Wow.
directed by both of them because they have
Yeah,
such, you know." I love Zack Schneider. I loved Dawn of the Dead, especially. I know it's his. I think it was his first feature.
that
And
film's really good. Yeah.
Whedon's got a great career, especially in TV and the Avengers and that. So yeah, she's going to tell me about that, and I need to twist her arm to be on a podcast about that. So she's working out what she can say because I think she's in more of the new version, which is
Sweet.
very cool for her.
Yeah,
And
it's pretty.
that that's an extra credit for it at IMDb is the 2 cuts.
Yeah.
So and she was the one, right? 5 or 6 years before Kevin Spacey, the whole thing with Kevin Spacey happened, she
Mm,
told me all about Spacey about 5 years before it came out about him. And
gee, that's
because
weird.
she had actor friends that work in the Old Vic, you know, the whole
Right.
thing that he curated. And she says, I was like, all right, okay. I didn't know anything about it. So, 6 years later, all this stuff comes out, allegedly and
Yeah.
all that. They say allegedly. And I sent her a message saying, you were right. You were absolutely right. And she said, yeah, just expect another 20 people from the Old Vic to come out,
Mm.
around 20. And what happens a few days later? 20 people, 20 actors come forward. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. So many people aware of these things. But yeah, anyway, let's end on that note.
Oh, Yeah.
That's the Scottish sense of humor, I guess, coming out now. But
yeah. Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say gallows humor, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah.
Fuck Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You know what? I've got so many clothes in my parents' house that are vacuum packed, and I've got a lot. I used to collect T-shirts. I love T-shirts and from movies. I've got like Cannes Film Festival T-shirts from years ago, that kind of thing. And I've got a T-shirt that's vacuum packed in my house that has the US flag on. There's House of Cards and Kevin Spacey's massive face on it.
Oh wow!
So I'm gonna do something special. I'm gonna burn that and one of those porgs from the second Star Wars film. I'm gonna burn them together. Well, thank you very much, Ryan.
Star Wars, then, no?
Oh no, I love Star Wars, but there's a disconnection. There's a disconnection from the material on those sequels, especially Last Jedi and especially that third one. No, I'd say more so Last Jedi, because how can you give a director complete free reign, because you've got the storied history and you don't have to pay people fan service. I believe doing fan service in the right way. And I was crushed, and there's a whole massive conversation we can have about that. But
I've had the very same conversation with people who've enjoyed those movies, and I've always asked why. So
exactly. And
it's real tiring and like crying shame, that entire sequel trilogy. It's an unmitigated mess.
I'm devastated. You know what? One of the reasons I'm devastated is because look at what Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are doing with Mandalorian.
That's great. The
content's amazing. That's Star Wars.
You put something that interesting within that context, and people will latch onto it, and it'll make sense.
Yeah.
But
one of the beautiful things about that show, I only realized a couple of weeks ago, as I've just finished watching it, is that it's John Wayne's son who does a lot of the in suit work.
All right. Okay.
So John Wayne's son is the Mandalorian, effectively.
Wow. Okay.
So the majority of it is him, and it's not Pedro Pascal.
Huh. Right. Well, that makes sense. It is a Western, so it is definitely
yeah, it's a very cool. Yeah, we'll get him. That sounds really interesting. It is very cool. So we'll leave it there, Ryan. I really appreciate being on the podcast, mate, and I'll let you know about when this gets released. I'll kind of do you follow us on Instagram?
I do, yeah, I do.
So we'll let you know. We'll tag everything, and if you've got a preferred photo of yourself that you want to use for promotion or something like that, then please send that over on the email address, on the Stay Creative email address, and we can tag that with the episode. And well done on the nomination. That's the most I know about most of these films. So we're still waiting for results from the directors duo and that. So we'll send all the laurels out depending on what happens the weekend. So stay safe, mate, and enjoy the amazing weather.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. And, keep in touch, mate. See you soon.
Well, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.